You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, episode 41. This week on the show, we're doing a little something different. We're going to talk with you about the hunting film tour. All right, welcome everyone to the 41st episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Palm, and if you'd like to catch up with the HP Outdoors crew, you can do so at hpoutdoors.com. You can also check us out across the various social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can also check out all of the old past episodes of the show on iTunes, and if you subscribe to the show on iTunes, you can have all of the brand new episodes pushed out to you automatically. If you're a guy that likes to use Facebook, we do have a listeners group on there. If you search the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast listeners group, you can join in there and chat with me and the other guys that listen to this show. And, you know, it's really just a spot where you can go and ask questions and have good waterfowl related discussion and not have to worry about somebody on an internet forum giving you a hard time or harassing you, anything like that. So just an overall good community of guys that are in there chatting about fowl. One of the other guys that you will find in that group is my co-host, Dan Harushka. Dan, what's up, man?
It seems to be a growing trend that wherever there's a picture of a van on the internet, somehow my name gets tagged next to it, whether it is a, conversion van or a really cool van or just a van doing burnouts or whatever. So, yeah, come on over to the listeners group, and I'm sure you'll enjoy every Monday morning seeing a new picture of me tagged in something.
Yeah, I mean, if you enjoy openly mocking people that drive minivans, Dan's your huckleberry. I mean, we got you squared away there.
It's the place to be. It really is.
This is true. For the other folks who are interested in signing up for our newsletter, you can do so on the HP Outdoors podcast website, hpoutdoors.com, and periodically we'll send you some stuff related to the show via that mechanism. And we also have a listener survey on all of the show notes for each episode. So if you are so inclined, you can complete that survey, tell us a little bit about yourself, and give us some feedback about the show. This week's show is an interesting one because we're doing something a little bit different than we've done in the past. We're going to kind of step away from, the waterfowl hunting related tips and techniques for a week. And we're going to talk about the hunting film tour. And for anyone that's not aware of what that is, it's basically just a project that started of a bunch of short videos that are pulled together into a reel. And these are not just any kind of short videos. I mean, these are the best of the best. These are videos that are produced by some of the best, photographers and videographers in the outdoor industry, and just some really cool films, and really connect with the viewer and sort of make you feel like you're in the hunt. Really cool stuff. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on in the show. But as we have been doing in the past couple episodes, we're going to cover a little bit of waterfowl news. We're going to have our Ask HP Outdoors question of the week. We're going to profile the barnacle goose. And we're also going to have our retriever training quick tip brought to you by Barton Ramsey and Southern Oak Kennel. So full show lined up this week. We're locked and loaded, ready to go. Dan, you got anything else you want to talk about before we roll into this week's show?
No, man. The trigger finger is getting a little bit itchy, and we open up on the 10th up here, so a little bit of a wait going on, and I didn't hit the early season as hard as I wanted to, but seemed a little, hot and tough to pattern birds up this way, and I think everyone was having some challenging times. So, the meat of the season's coming up, and that's always an exciting time. So just keep on keeping on and get ready for that.
Yeah, we're in a big lull here too, and I was I was really hoping to get out and do some fall trout fishing this weekend, and unfortunately, it appears that we're going to be hit by a hurricane here locally. So I think the water levels are going to be a little too high for hunting, for fishing this weekend. So guess I'll be stuck inside watching football and kind of hanging out. But I'm definitely looking forward to get back out into the blind. But let's not go ahead and wait any longer, and let's roll right into it. This week's waterfowl news segment. All right, Dan, I will get the party started here. And unfortunately, a little bit of another Debbie Downer for me this week in the waterfowl news category. It looks like some snow goose hunters in the center part of the country may be affected by poor gosling survival in 2015. Reports coming from the banding crews working in the major nesting areas are in sort of the mid-continent areas where the snow geese and Ross geese have been surveyed. They're saying that what looked to be basically an average hatch and recruitment of white geese appears to have failed due to cold and rainy weather conditions. So basically, they're talking about natural mortality rates of the juveniles of a catastrophic number. Basically, crews were up there banding for 5 to 6 weeks after the hatch, and they were basically reporting no goslings left alive despite capturing more than 9,000 adult white geese. So really sort of a significant impact on the juvenile birds. Contrary, though, and on the flip side, the western snow goose surveys have represented as 62% of the birds captured in the juvenile category. So good retention on the western part. Central part, due to some weather conditions, might have a significantly lower number of juvenile birds this year, which, as we all know, a lot of the juvenile birds are the ones we're able to harvest when you have those great shoots and stuff. So, long-term management, this is probably something that would be helpful to drop the overall numbers, but from a hunter's perspective, this may present some challenges in getting some of those better hunts in the central part of the country this year if you're out there chasing white geese.
Yeah, that is a Debbie Downer, especially, Tony Vandemore and guys all through the central states there. I'm sure that they'll still put a hurting on them, so not too bad. But I am going to follow you up with some other news that it's kind of just more of a public service announcement, I guess. But, you asked me about Pymatuning last week, and it's known for ducks walking on the fish, and it used to be potato and onion fields. It's a man-made lake now, just over 100 miles of shoreline. It's not real deep, but there's tons of carp. There's a big spillway, and there's ducks and geese that are on top of these fish, literally like walking on them, and just a huge tourist attraction. People throw bread and stuff. So I was looking, and I saw, I think it was a couple years ago, that they threatened to stop selling bread and whatnot, and I kind of started looking into that and found a thing in New York. It said stop feeding waterfowl. And why would they do that? Is it good to feed waterfowl? No. Artificial feeding is actually harmful to waterfowl, and what can it really cause? Poor nutrition, increased hybrids, water pollution, delayed migration, and a bunch of other things. But when you're talking about like feeding them bread, it's low protein. It's just a very poor substitute for natural foods. Diseases, you start. There's a good list here, but it says most waterfowl die-offs in the past 10 years have involved artificial feeding. It said 2,000 mallards and black ducks were killed in an outbreak of duck virus enteritis in central New York. Another fatal disease, aspergillus, is when it piles up and becomes moldy and they eat it. And then it says that in some cases humans have been affected by disease transmitted by waterfowl, and it is called swimmer's itch, that is caused by a parasite that is emitted from ducks attracted to artificial feeding in town parks. So it's probably, if you are doing that, you probably don't want to be swimming around it. And it is tough for me because I take my kids down there and, we feed the ducks and it's a good time. So just something to think about. One thing that really caught my eye was the delayed migration. And these abnormal feeding habits, they alter normal migration patterns of waterfowl by shortening or even eliminating them. So they're reluctant to leave for winter, and then all of a sudden they're not surviving the cold. So, a lot of problems that can come from going and feeding waterfowl some old bread that you have. And it's been a local attraction here for many years, but they might have some merit in trying to slow it down.
Yeah, I think that feeding ducks and stuffed bread happens all over the place, and I can't imagine that they'd ever get enough support to shut that down, particularly in Pymatuning. But who knows? Things have stranger things have happened. But that's this week's taste of some waterfowl news, and let's roll into the next segment. As we all know by now, my favorite of the week, the Ask HP Outdoors question of the week.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
All right, Dan, this week's question comes from the Facebook listeners group. This week, Dalton asks, what does everyone like to do for appreciation for those that grant them permission to hunt their property? So, Dan, what do you like to do for landowners that allow you permission?
I like to kill groundhogs.
Care to elaborate on that at all?
A lot of the local farmers around here, they say you can hunt my property, but you have to kill the groundhogs in the summertime. So that is one of the main give backs, and it really is helpful to them. And surprisingly, most of them around here, they provide me with ammo to go and do that. So it's really, just spending some time out in the field and crushing some hole makers for them. But, a lot of people, I think you need to test it out. A lot of farmers, they have help and they don't need a ton done around the place. A lot of people ask if they can help around the farm or pick something up or help them move depending on the age of the farmer. And, I think that's a great way to go about it. Matt in our group, he stops by in Christmas time and gives, homemade cookies and whatnot to some of the farmers at properties we hunt. And, I think something else that always goes over well is just a gift card to somewhere, out to dinner or something like that. It's not a straight cash. And, if you're leasing, that might be a different story. But if people just give you permission, they don't expect anything, then, a nice gift card would do well. What do you think?
If I'm leasing the farm, they're getting my money, so that's where it ends. But if they're just letting me hunt, free and for permit, granting me permission, I think, and I can't remember if we talked about this on gaining permission to private ground or not episode in the past, but if I repeat myself a little bit, so be it. I think that you need to show appreciation to your landowner every single time you have an interaction with them. So yes, the gift cards and the cookies and things like that are nice. But for me, it's every single time I either talk to them on the phone or I meet them in person. It's yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I express my appreciation for them allowing me to utilize their property. I make sure that I go above and beyond to leave the property better than I found it. I clean up all of my stuff. I clean up any trash that I may see from someone else, something blew in their yard from down the road, whatever it is. And I take the time to do that to make sure that it's, better than what I found it. And, another big thing for me is I respect the landowner's time. There's some people that are just not real social chatty type people, and they grant you permission, but they don't want to stand there and shoot the breeze with you as you try to build a relationship with them. I respect that. I try to read the person, and if they're engaging me in dialogue and conversation, I'll stand there and talk with them as long as they want to. But if it feels like I'm dragging it out of them, I'm not going to push it any further. If they're comfortable with me hunting it, and I leave it better than I found it, maybe that's all they need. So I try to read the landowner and just kind of see what's appropriate for that particular person. But I do think a personal touch now and again is important. So, I like the idea of dropping off cookies or something like that. Whatever it is, but regardless, I think that it should be, we talk about, I hate to draw this parallel, but, we tend to honor the military more on Veterans Day and Memorial Day and things like that. These are things that we should be doing all year long, every single day. It's sort of the same type of concept when you're talking about your landowners. I mean, if you're a waterfowl hunter and you have permission to hunt private ground, it's not costing you any money. That is your number one most valuable asset that you need to protect. So literally every time you interact with that landowner, you need to express your appreciation for what they're allowing you to do, and never ever take that for granted, because that can go away so quickly. And then you're stuck, hunting public ground or trying to scramble to find another spot. So, I just think it's one of those things where you can't overdo it, and you need to, be expressing that all the time, because the second you take it for granted is the second that somebody comes in there and leases it out from under you, and the game's up. So I don't know what you think, Dan, but that's sort of how I feel about it.
Man, I just want to snap my fingers and be like, preach on, brother.
Well, I mean, I live in an area where it's very difficult to get access to private ground. And when you get it, boy, you better hold on to it, because it's just, it's so hard to get. And, if you don't appreciate it and you take it for granted, these people they're doing you a favor. You're not doing them a favor in most times. You know what I mean? Like, they're taking on the burden of having you down at their pond or in their field shooting shotguns at 7 a.m., and if their neighbor complains or whatever else it is, like, that's coming to the landowner. So, I make sure I thank them every time, and I ask them, do you want me to come by the house when I'm done to check in with you? If you're busy or, if you got stuff going on, I don't want to be a burden. I'll just, pick up my stuff and take off. I communicate to that with them. I call them every time before I come to hunt the property, even though if I have written permission for the entire season, I call and I say, hey, I'm planning on hunting the pond this Saturday. Is that all right with you? You have anything going on? Maybe they're going to have family in town that weekend, and I want to, respect that, and not, all it takes is one bad experience to blow the whole deal. So, it's just one thing that I can't stress enough, at least, if you're in an area where private ground's that difficult to come by. So
no, I think that's a great point. And, respecting everything that they say. Make sure you listen to them if they say no driving in the field or anything like that. And, one of the farmers' fields that we hunt, he actually had a hunting accident a few years ago where it was deer season, and a guy was killed in rifle season, and it ended up being a stray shot from, I think it was like 1.5 miles away, and the guy never came home, and they went out and they found him. They actually found, who was around, and they did find who actually pulled the trigger on the bullet that took his life. No charges were brought about, but I'm, 1.5 miles away. So this guy he's very, very strict on what you can do. And, he obviously doesn't allow any rifle deer hunting on his property anymore, but still to understand the liability of a landowner, not everyone's in that situation, but you got to put that into perspective when they do allow you permission to hunt their property. That is a liability that they take on, and something that they might end up having to live with. So, just respect what they say, and if they say don't drive in a field or, make sure you clean up, just, it doesn't need to take something that drastic to do it. You should be doing it every time, and I agree with all your points there.
Yep. Well, if you'd like to do something different and you'd like to share it with us, feel free to do so on social media at info@hpoutdoors.com via email. And if you have a question for us and you'd like to hear it on the show, you can submit it to us through any of those various means. And if we use your question on the show, we will send you a free HP Outdoors barrel decal for your effort. So Dalton, direct message us your address and your info, and we'll make sure to get that out to you in short order. All right, Dan, let's transition here. This is your baby this week, the barnacle goose. I literally don't think I'd even heard of such a thing before this, but I'm anxious to see what you have to say. So let's go ahead and get into it this week's duck profile segment.
Well, like we mentioned before, we are running low on this, and the barnacle goose is pretty low on that totem pole, even though I have seen some pictures of them taken in the United States. But let's go on with it. The male's 27 inches, the female's 23.5. The male's 4 pounds, the female's 3.5. And the description, the barnacle geese have a black chest, neck, and crown with a cream white face. The sexes are very similar in appearance, but males typically are a little bit larger, like I mentioned. The extension of black from the neck over the head gives the face a hooded appearance, and the upper back is black, shading posterior to silver gray. The breast, sides, and flanks are a pale gray, and the belly, undertail, coverts, and rump are white, contrasting markedly with the large black tail, and the bill, legs, and feet are black. And when it comes to breeding, the barnacle geese breed along the northeast coast of Greenland, Svalbard, Norway, and Novaya Zemlya, and in Russia. There are no breeding records of barnacle geese in North America. Barnacle geese nest in small colonies among rocky crags or on cliffs and islands and lay an average of 4 to 6 eggs.
Well, I'm glad to know that I don't need to pick up some barnacle geese to add to my spread for this season by what you're telling me. But so the Greenland population of barnacle geese winter in Ireland and Scotland. The Svalbard population largely winter in the Solway Firth between England and Scotland. The Russian population tends to winter in the Netherlands and Germany. In North America, infrequent appearances of barnacle geese have been sort of restricted, but they have happened in areas along the East Coast to include Labrador, Ontario, Quebec, Massachusetts, New York, Vermont, Ohio, and even as far in as Michigan. So they're rare, but it has happened in the past. Barnacle geese tend to feed on grasses and coastal plants found in salt marshes, grasslands, and near river estuaries or tidal mudflats. So I guess, Dan, if there's nothing in the law that says if a barnacle goose finds its way over your spread, you could probably shoot it, and just count it in your dark goose limit, but I don't know. Either way, that's this week's profile, barnacle goose. What do you think about that, Dan? Do you think it would be part of your legal bag limit or no?
I think it would have to be.
Yeah, I don't know how on earth you would even know, if that was the situation, but
I would definitely count it. I mean, they're a cool looking little goose, but I don't think we have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely not. But okay, and the next segment is I know your favorite segment that we've added to the show, and it's a retriever training quick tip with Barton Ramsey, Southern Oak Kennels, and I just want to take a minute before we get into this to just thank Barton for his interactions on the Facebook group and just him responding to questions that the guys have had in there and providing really just great insight. And we're just so fortunate to have him as a friend of the show and such a wealth of knowledge. So really appreciative to Barton, and looking forward to this week's retriever training quick tip. So let's go ahead and play that now and talk about it on the other side.
Hey guys, this is Barton Ramsey with Southern Oak Kennels, bringing you your retriever training quick tip of the episode. I know that for a lot of you guys, the season is opening or has opened or is about to open. You can definitely see very quickly on social media that everyone's gearing up, getting excited. And I've already seen a couple of awkward situations where guys are trying to figure out, okay, who's bringing the dog? We got a group of guys going out opening day. Who gets to bring their dog? I know for me, I can't stand going out and hunting if I'm not going to be able to bring my dog. I would rather go kill a few ducks by myself than, kill wads of ducks with lots of guys and not have one of my dogs. But a big problem that happens when you bring multiple dogs is if you have dogs that are not steady or just don't know how to work with another dog in the blind, that can really ruin a hunt. You You can have a dog that breaks at every shot and is out standing in the middle of the decoys when birds are still working. You may have a dog that will run out and try to take a bird from another dog. I've seen that happen. It really can be dangerous for the dog and for the guys in the blind. And so just a few quick tips on working your dog with other dogs. Obviously, you're going to want to increase steadiness a lot. Your dog has got to learn that not everything that falls from the sky to the ground is his or hers to pick up. And so what you need to do is throw some marks and be willing to walk out there and pick them up yourself. Or throw some marks, and if you have 2 dogs, send another dog. And that's the best thing to do. Find a friend that's got a dog. If you've got 2 retrievers, get a family member to work with you. Start out working your dog on a lead. And give your dog, I would say, 1 out of every 3 retrieves. That would be sort of the rule that we have. So if we have 2 dogs out, 1 mark is shot, we send dog A. Another mark is shot, we send dog B. A 3rd mark is shot, and we walk out and pick it up. And so each dog is learning, hey, I only get to go when he sends me. Some things that might help are put 1 dog just sort of away from you over on a place stand. Put another dog right next to you and send the one off the place stand. A lot of times dogs think that just because they're the one closest to you that they get to go. If your dog is breaking, some ways to fix that, obviously, is to work them on a lead. You can work them on a check cord. That can work pretty well. It's not the quickest route, but it can work pretty well. One of the things I like to do is add in all the exciting elements of a hunt. So shotguns, live birds, and all of that. Those are going to increase the amount of breaks. And so you're going to want to add those things in. As you add those things in, you can do some real simple things. If your dog is a good marking dog and you don't have to worry about switching, then shoot a mark off, and if the dog looks like he's a little too anxious to go, just simply say heel, turn around, walk about 3 feet behind you, turn back around, line him up, and send him. You don't want to do this a ton, but it is helpful. It's called delay. Put some delay in between the time the mark hits the ground. Delay the amount of time before you send your dogs. Let the mark hit the ground and count to 20, and make the dog sit there. Socialize the dog well around other dogs. Correct the dog for trying to take a bird from another dog. Lots of things you can do, but what you want is the confidence in knowing you can show up at a duck blind. If 4 other dogs are there and they're all crazy, breaking and everything, your dog is going to remain steady. Your dog is not going to cause any issues with the other dogs, and your dog is going to go make the retrieves that you send them on. So get out there, work with some friends, train together, have fun. Hope you guys all have good openers.
All right. Again, we'd like to thank Barton Ramsey, Southern Oak Kennels, for this week's Retriever Training Quick Tip. If you'd like to check out Barton, you can find Southern Oak Kennels on social media as well as online. And he also does have a listeners group as well. The Southern Oak Kennels Society, I believe it is, can be found on Facebook, and lots of retriever training topics and tips being discussed in there. So what do you think, Dan? Honoring other dogs and sort of the steadiness that goes into that. If you're going to be hunting with multiple dogs, it's sort of critical that you have that element.
Yeah, I don't have multiple dogs. I've never hunted with multiple dogs, but the honoring and steadiness, when he puts his videos up of 7 or 8 dogs all sitting there, and he'll throw bumpers out and he calls it to one, and that certain one goes flying out and gets it. I mean, it's just impressive, and it adds to any hunt. If you're dropping tons of birds and you have multiple dogs and can keep them fresh, I think that is just one of the neatest and coolest aspects that you could have. And on top of that, what you were saying about the SOK Society, every once in a while, people don't want to respond to his messages about buying dogs. He gives multiple opportunities after you put a deposit down, and some people just don't get to him. So, he put a dog up on SOK Society today, actually, and I think within 30 minutes that dog was sold. So, if you are looking for pups, I would try and make sure that you are involved with him if you're looking for a really good gunning dog. And, like you said, we really appreciate him being part of the show, and, just more great tips from him.
Yep, without question. So I want to take a minute here, Dan, to just talk about what we're going to do next on the show and kind of why we did it. And, because I mentioned in the roll-in, it's a little bit different than what we've done in the past in the show. And I think we chose to do it now because we're sort of in a little bit of a lull where there's some early bird season opening around the country. But for the most of us, we still got another couple weeks or a week or two before we can get out there and start shooting ducks. And we wanted to take a week to talk about something that you and I are both very interested in. And it piggybacks off of, the photography and the video that we like to do. And, this week we're talking about the Hunting Film Tour, which is just a collection of short videos that, just really portrays the hunting experience. And it's not just waterfowl, it's big game as well. But it just really portrays the hunting experience. And, on this show, we talk a lot about, enjoying the hunt more than, just the harvest, the experience, the process, the grind, all of that is just things that, we here at this show enjoy and that we encourage everyone to enjoy and value as part of the experience. So, the Hunting Film Tour is a unique experience that allows you to really get insight into all kinds of different hunting and really sort of feel it. So this week we're joined, by, Baker Leavitt of Killcliff, and Killcliff is one of the sponsors of the Hunting Film Tour, and Baker does a lot of the social media and marketing work with the tour as well. So we're going to talk with him about it and hopefully provide you guys a little more insight as to what it is and, if it's something that you might be interested in, how to check it out, all that kind of stuff. But, Dan, we'll chat after the fact, after we let everyone hear the interview. So let's go ahead and get into that now and see you guys on the other side. All right, guys, this week on the show, we decided to do a little bit something different. We decided to get outside of the standard, duck hunting tips and techniques type stuff for this episode. And we decided to invite a friend of the show, Baker Leavitt of Killcliff, to talk about the Hunting Film Tour. Baker, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. No, we're excited to have you on the show this week because, like I said, it's something different for us, but it's something that I think is just a cool opportunity that's going on that you're able to provide us a lot of insight into. And, as we get into it, I think a lot of the guys that listen to this show will be able to relate to a lot of the things that the Hunting Film Tour covers. But to give some general idea here, the Hunting Film Tour is basically, a project that's being supported by you all at Killcliff, also Ducks Unlimited, Federal Premium, Sitka Gear, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, a lot of great companies. And why don't we just start off with you just telling us a little bit about the Hunting Film Tour, sort of what it is and how it kind of got started and sort of, kind of how it works.
Absolutely. So I do business development for Killcliff. We're a beverage company, and, we make recovery drinks, cold brew coffee, and protein bars. And we're always looking for a way to get into the outdoor space, but we wanted to do it in the right way. Like, we didn't want to just go slap our logo all over a bunch of hunting television shows and all that stuff and, plaster our logo everywhere. And I went down to Tacoma. I live in Seattle, and I went down to Tacoma, Washington last year to watch a screening of the Hunting Film Tour. And when I walked out of there, I thought, this is exactly what we've been looking for. This is an awesome project. Gary Gillette, nice guy out of Alberta, Canada, started it, and it's in its fourth year now. And I walked out of there just with my jaw on the floor and got on the internet, tracked him down, and got in touch with him, and had some good conversations with him. And, we found an opportunity for Killcliff to get involved as a sponsor of the tour and support the outdoor hunting world and support, the filmmakers and photographers that are, working in the space. And so we came on board as a sponsor. I actually also help with social media and the marketing and activation of the tour. And this year, we have 50 corporate stops in the U.S. We have a dozen in Canada, 7 to 10 in Australia, and 7 in Europe. And then we'll have probably another 25 private shows in the U.S. where individuals, organizations, DU chapters, and whatnot will lease the show reel and then screen it for their members. It is the Hunting Film Tour. It's a collection of 10 to 12 short films that range in length from 5 to 12 minutes long. They're user generated. So we have a call for action every year, and we, just send it out, and people, filmmakers submit their films to us, and, we screen them and decide which ones we want on the show reel, and that's how we make the show reel. It's phenomenal. I mean, if you look at like some of the best movies and films and whatnot, what really gets them is the images that are portrayed. And where better do you see, more beautiful scenery and, than in the outdoors? I'm sure that you guys have seen duck hunting, seen the sunrise over a duck marsh. And I mean, I don't really know much out there that rivals it. It's amazing.
No doubt about that. So how, you said that most of them are 5 to 12 minutes. How long is your screening, or how many total films do you guys put into a show?
So it's the show reel is made for the year. So once it's made, it doesn't get altered. Like, we don't add or subtract or put new things in once the once the selections have been made. So what happens is people show up. Tickets are anywhere from $10 to $15, and people show up and they, check in and they fill out a little card, and then they put that card in a Yeti cooler. And Yeti is also one of the sponsors. And then so it's 45 minutes. And then we have a 15-minute intermission where we do drawings and we give out prizes from all the sponsors: Yeti, Sitka, Kimber, Vortex Optics, DU, Federal Ammunition, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, several other Kintrick boots. And we do tons of raffles and giveaways. And then after that 15-minute intermission, we do the second reel goes on, and that's another 45 minutes. So the total time for the show is start to finish is about an hour and 45 minutes.
This is I remember when the hunting film tour sort of was getting started, and seeing it on social media, and seeing some of the filmmakers a part of it, that I had seen some of their work, kind of that they put out on their own, and was always a fan of some of the stuff they did. And now that I look at how the tour has grown, and it continues to grow, I can't help but think about just sort of the evolution of the outdoor industry itself. I can remember growing up, not that long ago, and, Realtree Monster Bucks and all these other DVDs were like, I mean, every year I bought them religiously, and I watched them
Quack
all the time.
Masters, Realtree Road Trips.
Right, exactly. And I watched that stuff as much as I possibly could. And every show, when you look back and watch them, all they are is focused on the kill. You see a little bit of talk, and then the guys head out to the stand, and then they make the harvest. And for that reason, I was always more attracted to the archery hunts, because it seemed like there was a little bit more, to the story than that. Well, you fast forward to today, and you see the stuff that gets a lot of traction on social media, and, the shows that are coming out with Heartland Bowhunter, Heartland Waterfowl. It's becoming less focused on the kill and more focused on the story, and sort of the cinematic feel that they put into that story, that really sort of makes you, the viewer at home, sit there and think about, well, I know what it feels like to see the sun come up like that, like they're showing right there. Or I know how it feels to cut up with my buddies at camp like they're doing right here. So just talk a little bit about that sort of evolution, and kind of maybe why you think it's been such a popular thing, and sort of help propel the hunting film tour forward.
I think, honest to God, it's just the advancements in technology, and as that applies to hunting, I just turned 40. I graduated college in 2000, and we didn't have internet or emails and stuff back then. But if you look at the advancements in cameras and for stills and then cameras for recording and whatnot, and the sound equipment and whatnot, it's amazing. It's phenomenal. And there's a lot of guys out there that. So for me, this is me personally, okay? I'm not so much focused on the kill. Like, I would rather, honest to God, go and plan an awesome trip with my friends and a great hunt, and sit up at night around a fire and cut up and joke and stuff, and just have a really good time, versus killing something. And I think when you set your 100% of your expectations on one single thing around a hunt or a trip with your friends, I think you're setting yourself up for failure. like, we got to get this buck, we got to limit out on birds or whatever, and if we don't do that, it's a failure. And that's not what it's about. And I think that, with the guys that are running the cameras and stuff, I mean, I think they want to tell a story. You got guys that want to get behind the gun and pull the trigger pullers, and then you got guys, shutterbugs, you got guys that want to tell the story. And I think those guys have the ability to have control of the situation, because they're the ones running the camera, they're the ones telling the story. And I think that's important. And I think that's where a lot of the advancements come. And then I also think that there's 362 television shows on sports news in the Outdoor Channel. And they all, in my opinion, seem to be very, very similar. And you have filmmakers and whatnot out there that want to tell a different story. And that's what they do. And I think that's what you can attribute it to.
See, I find the hunting film tour a very unique space, and for a couple reasons. And you might be able to talk to me because you're with Killcliff, which is a sponsor here. But, as you said, the increase in technology, and this gives companies a space to where instead of spending, $250,000 for a half a year on the Outdoor Channel, they could put that into, a new Red Dragon or some of these awesome new cameras to go out and film and really tell a story. So I think that is, is there a lot of pressure from the sponsors at all?
So Killcliff, we had a hunting show on the Pursuit Channel a few years ago, and we were discussing doing a second season, and I called Mark Seacat at Seacat Creative, and Mark from Sitka, and he did his probably most famous work is Searching for West. And I asked him, I said, Mark, give me your take on this. Like, you're looking at this from 40,000 feet in the air, and I'm looking at it from boots on the ground. And he said, Baker, what's your slotting fee for this? So to get primetime slotting fee on this network, it was like $97,000. And he put it best. He goes, Baker, he said, when you do a television show and you pay for your slotting fee, which is how it works in the hunting world now, think about all the things you could do with $97,000. You could make a film, and then you control the distribution of it. Everyone's got a laptop. Everybody's got a smartphone. Whereas with hunting television shows, you're beholden to the network. They own your content for 3 years. You can't do anything. So, like, if you look at, like, Steven Ranella's original TV show, The Wild Within, you can't find anything about The Wild Within other than, like, 1-minute clips on YouTube and whatnot. And that was a great show because the network he was on, it was, I don't know if it was Discovery or National Geographic or something. They own all the content. He doesn't own it. He doesn't have control of it. So I think you're seeing a shift there where you've got some people and you've got sponsors, that are looking outside the box. So let's take Vortex and Yeti, for example. Let's say they get together and they do a short film. Well, they can blast that out to their email databases. They can post it on social media as much and as often as they want. They can send it out to their athletes, and they can have them post it. And you can do a call to action. You can do, like with Searching for West, I believe they gave away, I want to say, like $100,000 worth of product. And it was basically, to watch the film when it came out, you paid with an email. And so they were able to capture email addresses. And it just makes business sense to have control of your content. Like, you don't want to, and film guys are different than TV guys. Like, TV guys, like, they have obligations to sponsors, whereas film guys, they have an obligation to a sponsor, but it's not to blast the logo all over the place. It's to create something that will last and that people will want to watch and they will seek out, and something that's different. So, that's kind of my thought on that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, you brought up Steve Ranella, and I was actually listening to one of his podcasts a couple weekends ago, and they were talking.
I don't have a man crush on anybody. Like, I don't really get awestruck by a lot of people. I've got some friends that are pretty successful professional athletes, and, I work partners with 2 Navy SEALs that are both very, very, successful and accomplished in their careers in business and in the Navy. And, and like, I meet a lot of people, and it's very hard for me to get, like, oh my God, like, speechless. Steven Ranella, I think, is arguably one of the coolest people that's ever been born.
Yeah, and that's he's I mean, I'll admit I have a man crush on him, and just because, I mean, he's he's very, I think sometimes he might confuse himself because he gets so deep in thought about things. But on top of that, for his shows, I mean, he reads all the time. He's a genius. He's a writer. And when he was talking about his film, which, I mean, he puts out a great product, even though, like you said, he might not own the rights to it. But all his camera people, all the people surrounding him were all writers. And when they're all trying to tell a story, like you said, with his son coming up, and like people, they make a list and they know what they want to convey. And I think that's one of the reasons he's amazing in himself, but he surrounds himself by these people that tell stories for a living. That's what they used to do. And that's how he comes across as. So, telling a story is definitely, to me, and I think I mentioned it to Josh on a separate podcast, and I think it was the Heartland Waterfowl guys we were talking to. And I said, when I'm watching something, if it's not interesting, or if I can't feel myself being in that spot, I'm going to turn it off. But some of these shows, and I said, if I can almost smell where they're at, I know that might sound weird, but if you put me so much into your movie that I'm so into it, I can smell and have all the senses in it, then I'm going to watch that whole film. And I think that's something that, the Hunting Film Tour definitely puts out. Like, these are some of the best out there.
Oh, yeah, they're phenomenal. So, the cool part about this for me is, I grew up in Georgia, all right, shooting white-tailed deer at 100 yards with a 30-06, and, shooting wood ducks and some teal. And occasionally, every once in a blue moon, we get like some ringnecks or a bigger bodied duck. And, and I now live in Seattle, and I basically had to relearn how to hunt, and everything that I did in the past, it's totally different now than, what I'm doing. Like, just relearning how to duck hunt, and, with wood ducks and whatnot, you hunt you over you can shoot two birds. You hunt you over in 2 minutes, whereas out here, where I live now, it's totally different. I'm hunting spud fields and corn and shooting nothing but, big birds. And, I shoot more big birds in 2 weeks up here than, my friends, doing an entire year, all of them combined back home. And, it's like the memories and stuff that you have from, like, duck marshes and stands and all that stuff. And that's what's just so awesome, and being able to tell those stories and share all that. And then my buddies, and the cool part about the Hunting Film Tour is meeting these filmmakers, like the guys at 60th Parallel, who did, a Boone and Crockett, they went and got 2 Boone and Crockett Caribou on their film for the Hunting Film Tour. And, the guys from Lost Arrow, and Ben Potter with Can Outdoors, and just meeting all these people that do all these hunts that, like, growing up in the South, like, I didn't even know was humanly possible. Like, you see people hunting sheep and rams and goats and bears and all that stuff, and, like, you're like, what is this stuff? And now, because of the Hunting Film Tour, like, you learn how it's totally possible. Like, anybody can do it. You just have to put in your time and work. It's so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about that for sure. And, I don't know if I'll ever go on a sheep hunt or, some of these exotic hunts that you see captured on film, but, it definitely provides that entertainment level of it makes me sit back and think, if I was ever to do that, you get a sense of how exciting and how unique of a hunt it would be, because they're recreated just so vividly. And, I was really bummed out because, the Hunting Film Tour had a stop in a town about an hour away from where I live last weekend, and I just happened to be out of town, so I couldn't make it. But for you've mentioned the show's all over the world, but if you're in an area where it doesn't come to somewhere close by to you, what's a guy to do if he wants to check it out? I mean, what other options? I know you mentioned briefly. DU chapters.
Get some of your friends, and you do a private screening, and you hit us up, And like, so what I would do, you know, are you like, if you're a member of like a local DU chapter, I would get 20 of your friends, everybody chip in $20, lease the show reel for $500, get a projector or get your laptop and a projector and put the DVD in and watch it at one of your friends' houses or, you know, a barn or something like that. I mean, it's very easy, very accessible. And, you know, it's funny because, you know, you said that you didn't know if you'd ever do one of those hunts. Well, you watch the hunting film tour, and like this year we have bighorns, caribou, there's Africa, there's a duck hunting show on there, there's a couple whitetail shows on there, and there is I always get these confused, it's a fallow or a axis deer in Hawaii, one of those on there. And it's interesting, like you can, the films are so good that you will actually, if it's something that you want to do, you'll make a connection with that film. And you'll start to think, how can I make this happen in my lifetime? I can save $100 or $200 a month, $100 a month for a few years, and just start planning. And you can make it. If you want to do it, you're going to find a way, you know. And that's the cool thing about these films is, you know, these are like everyday guys. Like, you know, they're not like superstar athletes that are millionaires or anything like that. Like, these are just regular guys that have a passion for hunting, and they just make it happen. They find a way to do it. Like these guys, they save up to buy their cameras, and they start running, you know, pics and start doing third-party content generation and sending stuff into Sitka and Yeti and pics. And that's how Ben Potter got started at King Outdoors. He started sending Yeti and Sitka photos and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, this is great." And then he started sending in some video clips, and they started kind of promoting that stuff. And then they hired him to do some films and stuff. The DU film, I can't remember his name. The guy in the DU film is one of the most successful DU photographers, and he tells his story about how, you know, he had grown up hunting ducks, and then he just had this desire to capture what he was seeing and share with the world. So the dude started taking photos, and he submitted hundreds and hundreds of photos to DU before they finally ran one of his pics. And now he's been in, I think they featured like 150 of his photos and stuff like that. So, you know, it's one of those things where, like, you know, you'll leave impressed, and hopefully you'll leave inspired to want to take something on that you didn't think you could ever do.
Is that the Doug Steinke?
Yeah, that's it. That guy, yeah. Like I live in Seattle now. I never thought I'd live in Seattle. All right, I never thought I'd live in a place where I'd be able to duck hunt 40 days a year and shoot tons of big birds, but I do. And I never thought I'd ever go bear hunting, and I went black bear hunting last year. You know, I never thought I'd go elk hunting. I went elk hunting 2 weeks ago. You know, there's just, you know, it's fear of the unknown, and hopefully the film tour like will inspire people to kind of stare that in the face and say, I can do whatever I want to do. I'm going to do this. I can go shoot a big elk.
I have two questions for you. One, you know, the hunting film tour has been running for a couple years now. I'm assuming like your tour now is all the newer stuff. So is there a place where you can watch your older tours, your older films?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're working with Carvin TV now to get that up there, to get the older stuff up there. I will check with Gary and confirm that, but you know, I can get you guys a copy of the show reel of this year and last year's, you know, and you can watch it. You don't even have to pay the reel.
Makes sense. And then just talk about, like, you know, how, you know, one of our listeners might really be into this. How would they go about submitting it? And, you know, what are their, you know, give us a 1 in 100, 1 in a million type chance. How many films do you guys go through?
We probably get, we're not, let's see. So what you would do, if you're a photographer or a filmmaker, hit us up on Facebook, Hunting Film Tour, and send us a direct message. Tag us in photos on social media. You know, hashtag Hunting Film Tour, and then you know, send a message into, and then you can go to the website, and there's a link there for user submitted content. Use that, And like if someone like, so one thing we definitely want more of is more waterfowl hunts, and we want more whitetail hunts. So if you know someone, anybody that's listening, you know someone that runs a camera, you know, send it in. And if you send something in and it doesn't get accepted, like, don't give up. Like, you know, like that's one of the things that, like, every time I go hunting, my goal is to be a better hunter when I come out of the blind or when I get out of the stand. And, you know, no one's going to buy a camera and become some great outdoor film guy overnight. You know, it takes work, it takes practice. And if you're committed, you know, but yeah, just send stuff in go to the website or send us a message on Facebook.
So, you know, obviously it would be awesome if someone that listens to the show actually was able to get a film selected on the tour. And, you know, I'm glad that we've been able to hopefully shed some light for anybody that may not have been aware of the show previous to this. But I did want to ask you something about sort of just your personal hunting experience. You mentioned relocating from Georgia out to Seattle. And, you know, we've had a lot of different people talk to us about, you know, hey, I'm a college kid, I'm going to school here now, and I'm, you know, away from home, or I just relocated for a new job and I'm trying to get, you know, something set up before the duck season this year. You know, can you help me out? So I'd wonder if you would share with us a little bit about sort of the transition moving from the East Coast to the West Coast. You know, how did you go about finding, you know, new places to hunt? You know, what were some of the tactics that you used to meet people? What did you find to be the most effective? You know, I've shared my story on the show several times about relocating from Pennsylvania to Virginia. So I'm curious as to how closely, you know, my experience might parallel yours or different from yours.
So my experience, I'm a pretty outgoing guy. I've never met a stranger, so to speak. So I literally, when I decided to move up here, I just Googled, duck hunting in the Skagit Valley. And it's the luckiest phone call I've ever made. I actually got really lucky in the first number I called. Guy called me back a few minutes later, and it was a club that I just got lucky and joined, and it's one of the best duck hunting clubs. I'd put it up against anything on the West Coast. It's phenomenal, and that was just blind luck. But the one thing that took some work was the big game hunting stuff out here. Hunting out west is totally different than back east, where, you know, in Georgia, you just go buy a license and you can shoot 10 bucks or 2 does. Well, out here in Washington, you have to designate your weapon, you know, and it's so much it's all public land out here, whereas back home, it's all private land. And you just got to put in your work, and it's intimidating, to say the least, you know, with GMUs and designating your weapon of choice, and, you know, you got these draws and you put in for tags and all that stuff. And, and one of the things I always preach is turning everything, no matter what the situation is, no matter how any negative, you can always find a positive or turn it into an asset if you want to. And what it did for me was it made me a better hunter, because now I know more about the game that lives in the state of Washington. I understand seasons. You know, you pay more attention to predicted rut schedules and stuff, and then you have to understand GMUs. And like, you can't, it's all hilly here. It's not flat ground. And so, you know, you have to learn how to run a GPS, and like hunting, and you have to learn more about camping and all that good stuff. And like, it made me an all around better hunter. And you just got to put in your legwork, you know, like, it's not, nothing's easy. Anything worth doing is worth doing well. And anything that's worth doing is never going to be easy. So, I just had to, you know, just kind of hit the bricks and talk to people at the gym. And I used social media, you know, to meet people that were hunters and stuff. And I joined a lot of, you know, hunting groups on Facebook for Washington State and stuff, and just picked up the phone, started calling people, asking questions, you know, and then just putting my time in. I went elk hunting, was it 2 weeks ago? Really had no clue what I was doing. Went with a buddy, and I got a cow call. You know, didn't see any elk, but I missed the biggest buck I've ever seen in the wild. Didn't have my rangefinder like a doofus, and shot low, but, you know, it was an awesome experience. And then, you know, the bear hunting out here was really cool, and like, the bears are random and you can't pattern them, and it's just, you know, you just kind of wander around looking for them, you know. And you have to figure out what the animal's food source is and all that stuff, what the tracks look like, and it's been a great experience, and it'll continue to be a great experience.
So really, your first call was the duck. It was to the same company you're with now, yeah.
The duck club I'm a member of right now. It was the first call I made, and it's the luckiest phone call I've ever made in my life.
So a quick Google search and a phone call. That
it was 3 years ago, and it was hot, and no one was good. I was like, anybody going? Like, no, the weather's not right. I was like, well, y'all are insane. I'm going. And I shot 2 Susies and a Drake green-winged teal. And I was flipping out. I was so excited. Because you'll go a whole season, in Georgia and not shoot a mallard. And, I was over the moon. And, like, every opportunity I went, I'm the guy in my club that will go duck hunting whenever anyone wants to go. And if no one wants to go, I'll go by myself. But, like, if someone's like, yeah, so-and-so's planning on, going, Wednesday, they haven't been yet this year. Do you want to go? I'm like, absolutely. So it's just, I'm drinking from a fire hose up here, but I love it.
Have you hunted any of the public land out there for waterfowl?
I have not, but there is tons of it. Absolutely tons of it. Tons of it. I just haven't had a need, like, I've hunted ducks in Africa, Central America, South America, all over the U.S., and what we have here, the way we set our property up and all that stuff and farm it and all that stuff is, it's as good as anything I've ever seen. Like, I just don't have any need to go anywhere else. But there's one thing I do want to do, and I am going to do that this year, is do some sea duck hunting up here. I've never done that, and there's some good sea duck hunting up here from what I hear.
Mm. Yeah, the sea ducks is something that's on Dan and I's to-do list as well, and maybe next year we'll be able to get to that. But so I don't want to keep it too long here, but for anybody that's interested in checking out the hunting film tour, where can they go? I know you mentioned Facebook, but where can they go to get more information and check out the tour schedule?
Go to the website, huntingfilmtour.com. Just Google the Hunting Film Tour, and the website's got all the information. It's got trailers to all the films and all that good stuff, and it will tell everyone how to where they can see it, what the film schedule is, and all that stuff. We have the winter schedule coming up. We'll probably announce that probably in the next 30 days, and that'll be in February and March.
Perfect.
But yeah, Hunting Film Tour on Instagram, Hunting Film Tour on Facebook, and Hunting Film Tour on Twitter and all that stuff.
Great. Yeah, I think you're right with the Carbon TV. I was looking on the website a while back, and I remember seeing some clips, and I saw the logo for Carbon TV. So I think you guys are set up on there too, so you can check out some of the older stuff there. But Dan, did you have anything else for Baker before we let him go?
Yeah, I have one more question. A lot of, and this is going back to Killcliff, but you go to Killcliff and you see a lot of weightlifters, and you know how dedicated they are. What's the ratio of dedication between lifting and some of the crazy waterfowl / Western sheep hunters?
Repeat the question. I don't follow you 100%.
Just from Killcliff's perspective and trying to get into the hunting scenario more. I mean, you have to see some passion inside the hunters to try and market to them.
Oh, yeah. So for us, when I talk to friends of mine that don't hunt, like, I explain to them, like, how exhausting hunting is. They don't understand because they think we literally just sit there. What they don't realize is, like, all of your senses are firing. And, for us, we're very big in the CrossFit world. And the hunting world, we're making inroads right now, but we're going to do it, very selectively and very cautiously. And, like, you see the dedication level you see in, like, these, CrossFit athletes that go to the CrossFit Games and all that stuff. It's exactly the same level of dedication that you see in, the big Western hunters and all that stuff. It is. I mean, elk hunting and sheep hunting and all that stuff. I mean, you're up and down mountains all day long. I mean, it's not easy at all. It's very, very difficult. That's why you don't ever see, like, heavy overweight sheep hunters, or for elk hunters because there's just so much energy and work goes into it. You know, duck hunters, we need a little extra body fat to keep warm, you know, so.
Without question. Well, Baker, we appreciate you giving us some time here today and sharing a little bit about the hunting film tour. Definitely encourage everyone to go online and check that out. And a lot of the videos and stuff are just, they're second to none, really quality, just great stuff to check out. And, again, we appreciate your time and best of luck to you the rest of the season. And hopefully, your duck season is a good. You get on some sea ducks up there.
Yeah, man. Thanks, guys.
All right, we'd like to thank Baker Leavitt of Kill Cliff for joining us on the show and giving us a few minutes. What'd you think, Dan? What do you think about the hunting film tour and how it particularly might apply to the listener of this show?
It is definitely a different episode than what we are usually doing with tips and techniques, but we've done photography and video on the show, and I think a lot of the listeners understand that we appreciate a good product when it comes to that. So when you're talking about the hunting film tour and you're talking about Rock Road Creative and Rock House Motion, Ken Outdoors, 60th Parallel, Seacat Creative, like these are some of the best out there. And like we said in the interview, when you're not focused on kills and you're focused on telling a story, like it's something that it really captivates me, and I'll sit there and I could watch this stuff all day. They just do an awesome job. And if some people might be all about the kill, they might want to go out and they're bloodthirsty. I'm not one of those people. I love being with my friends. I love, the sights, the smells, the touches, everything about being outdoors. So, the hunting film tour really just encapsulates all of that. And, I think it's a really cool thing that they're doing, and they're not focused on, all the money that goes into the outdoor TV shows and the sponsors. Like, you have some really good sponsors there, and they do it because they love it. And I think that's a different driving machine than a financial one. So, it's really cool. It speaks to me, and I thank Baker for coming on and shedding some light into that and how popular that's getting. So, with that being said, I think that like he said, it was the luckiest phone call he ever got, because what you had to go through to find places to hunt in Virginia, and we know of some other people that have difficult times trying to find places to hunt in their area. So for him to make a call and be totally set up there is, I'm happy for him that he didn't have to go through everything, but that was a very lucky phone call, and I don't know. What do you think about it?
Yeah, it definitely doesn't always work out that way, and it didn't work out that way for me. And it took me several years to, finally link up with someone that was into it as much as I was, and that ended up happening through Facebook. So, since then, it's really, opened up not only spots that guy, my buddy Carlos had access to, but also spots that, I was hesitant to do, that maybe military bases or what have you. So now that I have a buddy to go through that process with, it just makes it that much easier. And we've really kind of opened up and have gained access to a lot of different places to go. So, like you said, though, the grind and just the network is the biggest piece of that. And, I just thought it was interesting that he mentioned that. So it was a good opportunity for us to kind of see, one more person and how their experience went. But speaking to the hunting film tour specifically, obviously the way the world works is things are generated and driven by sponsors and people that put money in behind initiatives and things like that. But if you find yourself being that person that has trouble leafing through a waterfowl magazine or an archery magazine because every other page is an ad, and, every other page is this or that, or you're watching a TV show and, you get hung up on the fact that every time you turn around, they're throwing a new scent spray out, or they're plugging another product here, product there. The stuff like the hunting film show is for you. because yes, you will see the sponsors products in these films, but it's not in a way that detracts from the hunt. It shows, Sitka gear, for example, being put through the paces in completely untamed, wild, raw environments and just showing its worth. It's not like they're sitting down next to a harvested, elk or something and talking about, some random product that had nothing to do with it or what, you know what I mean? So, they're just really well done. They resonate with me, and, we encourage everyone to check it out. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. And, like I said, this is kind of a onesie type of show for us where, we like to focus on tips and techniques and developing hunters and sharing knowledge and creating community, where I think this is something that steps outside the scope of waterfowl hunting and gets to the greater outdoor community as a whole. So hopefully you guys enjoy it and get a chance to check it out. And Dan, really that kind of wraps it up for this week as far as content that we have for the show. You got anything you want to add or bring up here before we wrap up?
No, in between seasons, it's a good time to lock up permission in places, and we just found a new spot that we think is going to be pretty hot in this area, and the scouting so far has proven positive. So, like I said, my trigger finger is itchy, and I'm ready to go.
Well, I can tell you that you better keep your scouting current, because my hunt for last weekend was in a spot that was holding several hundred geese and 25 to 30 teal. I hunted and I saw 7 wood ducks and no teal and no geese, and never fired my shotgun. So times can change pretty quickly. As the guys on the migration app like to say, and as everyone has been throwing at me this week since last episode aired, we got that cold front started dropping down in the evenings and getting a little cooler, and it was just enough to push the teal out of here, and they're gone. So
you need some more cold to push some new birds in. That's what you need.
I think so. That's what we need. But so I've seen it pop up here on the Facebook group recently. You can't scout frequent enough, and the closer to the day of your hunt that you can scout, the better. So if you got a new spot identified, you definitely want to check that out. But one thing I did want to bring up here briefly before we wrap up the show is September has been the first month back that we've recorded the entire, the weekly releases of season 2. And I just want to take a moment to thank all the listeners of this show. We have set a new record for number of downloads for a month for us. And not only did we set it, we completely smashed it. It's more than double than we've ever had all of in the history of the show for one given month. So thank you all so much for tuning in and, making this show part of your weekly routine. And for all the guys that are in the listeners group that, have taken the initiative to reach out and getting to know us a little more, and, getting to know the other folks that listen to the show. I know I speak for Dan when I say we're really couldn't be more pleased with the little community that we're starting to develop of hunters and just overall good guys that talk hunting. And, it's an environment where you can feel free to bring a question to the table, regardless of how new to the game you are or how experienced you are. So if you're someone out here listening to the show and you're not part of our Facebook group, please consider this. If you're a new hunter and you just aren't sure of what to do, or you're afraid that your question might be looked at as silly or stupid or something like that, please, the group is here for people just like you. We need that, because not only does it help you become a better hunter, but it does generate discussion amongst all of the guys in there. So new things are developed each time someone asks a question, no matter how basic it is. And for the guy that may be the veteran, maybe you're a guy that hunts a lot, or you've hunted for several years, we need you too. We need your insight. We need your experience and the wisdom that you've gained from the field. So the community is really based upon openness, discussion, and, a variety of experiences across the entire landscape. So please, we encourage anyone to get involved and chat it up with us. And, it's only going to add additional value to the show. And again, thank you to everyone that has taken the time to invest in this show and support us. And hopefully we're able to continue to bring you content that you guys enjoy as we go through the season and really find it beneficial. So just wanted to take a moment to say a humble thank you and, express our extreme appreciation and gratitude for the support. We also would like to thank the companies that in part support this show: Sitka Gear, Sport Ear. You can use the HP Outdoors discount code at Sport Ear's website to get 10% off of any purchase there. Also, the guys from DeLorme have been gracious enough to offer us an HP Outdoors discount code. You can get $10 off the Earthmate app purchase by purchasing online through them. The HP Outdoors discount code is case sensitive, so please use uppercase if you're going to utilize the discount code with DeLorme. We'd also like to thank Big Al Silhouette Decoys and Higdon Outdoors for their support of this show. Dan, that's all I got. Unless you got anything else, we're going to go ahead and roll out of here for this week and get on to next week.
Nope. Be safe and get that scouting in and get ready for season.
Again, thank you all to making the HP Outdoors Waterfowl podcast part of your weekly routine. If you'd like to catch up on any of the past episodes, you can do so at hpoutdoors.com or on iTunes. If you'd like to have any of the new episodes pushed out to you automatically, please subscribe. And if you're so inclined, feel free to leave us a 5-star rating and review. We'd like to thank Baker Leavitt for joining us this week. Hope you guys enjoyed that. And hopefully you guys are getting ready to get out there and turn it up for this year's season. And until next time, for Dan, I'm Josh. Stay safe. Take care.